Welcome to this explainer. Today, we are going to completely reframe what consciousness actually is and how it literally dictates our everyday lives. Usually when we hear the word consciousness, we immediately jump to heavy philosophical debates or mystical states of being, or really complex neurobiology. But the source material we're diving into today, it strips all of that completely away. Instead, it presents this highly focused, super measurable framework for understanding our existence. It's essentially a blueprint, one that suggests we actually have way more control over our reality than we probably think. It is concise, but honestly, it's an incredibly profound piece of writing. And by breaking it down today, we are going to see exactly how our daily choices shape our entire destiny.
Section 1. 3 Essential Life Questions.
Okay, so let's kick things off at the absolute widest lens of our lives. We're reflecting on our past by asking one simple thing. Where were you? Now, the author explicitly states that there are these critical questions we basically need to keep asking ourselves, kind of like a running inventory of our human experience. But the text makes it really clear that this first question, it's not just about your physical GPS coordinates. It challenges us to look much deeper into our personal history. It asks, what did you do and who did you become? I want you to really think about that for a second. Your past isn't just a random list of events. It is a ledger of your actions and the character you've built from them. By asking, who did you become? The text forces us to acknowledge that our past actions directly forged our current identity.
From there, we've got to immediately question our present by asking, why are you here? Once we figure out who the past has made us, we have to look dead on at our current reality. And the source text breaks this down into two super immediate, highly pragmatic questions. Number 1, what are you doing right now? And number 2, what are you getting? I absolutely love the directness of this. It removes all the fluff. Look at your life at this exact second. What are your current actions and what results are those actions actually yielding for you? Are you getting what you want out of your life right now? This right here is the ultimate anchor of the present moment.
And naturally, that leads us to looking toward the future to determine exactly where you are going. Building directly on the past and the present, the text asks us to project forward. It asks, what are you planning to do and what are you going to get in life? Notice that direct cause and effect relationship there? Your plans, basically your intended actions, directly correlate to what you are literally going to get. So, okay, we have this massive, sweeping view of our past, present, and future. But how do we actually navigate them day to day? Let's move to Section 2, the anatomy of an event.
To answer those grand, overarching questions, we have to completely narrow our focus. We're zooming way, way in, literally down to a fraction of a second. The text reveals that our entire life depends on a very specific timeline. An event happens, a gap of time is spent, and then we respond to it. That's it. That is the unyielding sequence of human existence. Point 0 is the occurrence of the event. Something happens to you, right? Someone says something rude, an email pops up, a car cuts you off in traffic. That's the stimulus. Then there's the middle gap, the actual time spent after that event happens. And finally, step 3, our response or reaction to it. Every single interaction you have all day long follows this exact timeline. But here's the kicker. The magic, according to the text, lives entirely in step number 2.
Which brings us to Section 3, redefining true consciousness. So, the absolutely crucial point here is that consciousness isn't some vague mystical state. Listen to this definition from the text. The exact time spent between the occurrence of an event and our response to it is nothing but our consciousness. Wow, that is a stunningly practical definition. Your consciousness is the gap. It is that breath, that slight pause, that fraction of a second between something happening to you and you doing something about it. It is literally the only space where you actually have free will. Think about it. If you react instantly, your consciousness is virtually 0. But if you pause, you expand your consciousness. We're completely stripping away the complex neurobiology here and looking purely at the raw mechanics of action and reaction.
Section 4. The Quality of Life.
So the text leaves us with this incredibly powerful thought. Finally, our life is an expanded version of our responses or reactions. Honestly, this is the ultimate takeaway of the entire source material. Think of it kind of like a ripple in a pond. Your life is not necessarily made up of the events that happen to you. After all, events happen to everyone, right? And let's be real, many of them are entirely out of our control. Instead, your life is an expanded version of how you reacted to those events. Your responses are the raw materials that actually build the reality you live in every single day. Once you realize that your entire life is just an expanded version of your reactions, optimizing that space between an event and your response becomes your absolute most vital tool. We started with the massive, sweeping arc of life. We narrowed all the way down to that tiny gap of consciousness between an event and a response, and now we are seeing how that tiny gap dictates the rest of your world. As the source text concludes, our overall quality of life simply comes down to the decisions we took and the choices we made in our consciousness. Let that sink in for a moment. The quality of your life is built right there, inside the gap. When the event happens, you enter your consciousness. In that space, you make a choice, and that choice ripples out to become your existence. So if you want a better quality of life, you don't necessarily need better events to happen to you. You just need to make better decisions inside your gap of consciousness.
Knowing that your quality of life relies entirely on this gap, I'm going to leave you with this final provocative thought. What choices will you make in your consciousness today? We've gone from the macro questions of past, present, and future, all the way down into the micromechanics of the event, the gap, and the response. The text has shown us that this gap is our true consciousness, and the choices made within it expand to become our entire life. So the very next time an event occurs in your day, remember this explainer. Recognize the gap. Take ownership of that tiny window of time. Because how you use the time between your next event and your reaction, well, it will literally dictate the quality of the life you are building.